Yeah, I suppose. Look, yeah, it probably was needed. I suppose. Look, we had a tough few weeks there now with Bordeaux, Bulls, and Cardiff, and um, yeah, look, it was good for lads to get away, get a break from rugby, and then I think this morning, then it was the coaches really put kind of a good challenge to us of what's ahead over the next 2 weeks really, and then um, two good performances. Then you're looking to knock out rugby, so it's kind of it's a big block for us, obviously. So yeah, look, we're looking forward to it. There was a good energy, so we got the review of Cardiff done early, and kind of there was a lot of things that were in our control there, and had we done properly or effectively, we would have won the match handy enough. But it wasn't, fortunately, wasn't to be. I suppose probably my first start in Thome Park, which was my second cap. We played Ulster in an inter derby. Funny enough,
Yeah.
this weekend, and we kind of probably coming to the side. I think we were off a loss or two, and I remember Mick Galway was involved at the time, and he came in and chatted to us before the match, and there was it was an emotional night, obviously, for me, starting my first game for Munster. So that's a good memory. Others then, obviously the match then against Toulon when Andrew Conway scored that winner at the end. That was an incredible buzz. What else? The Axel game then, after the Glasgow one, after Axel's funeral, that was obviously a very emotional day. But yeah, look, there's been a load, but they're just three offhand that I'll remember anyway for the rest of my life. Yeah, there is. Yeah, with Rugby Players Ireland, we obviously have great help there, and Marcus is on site the whole time here, and he's a good man to chat to, and help you with the CV and just planning, and just a good man to have a general chat with. So I think there's certainly great help so far now.
Yeah, look, it's not something I've spent a huge amount of time thinking about, if I'm going to be honest. I said inside, I'm certainly very proud of some of the things that I'll be leaving behind and that we've accomplished as a group in this club and with Ireland. But when you're in the kind of white heat of it, it's hard to kind of look back really. Even looking at the end of seasons, sometimes they don't finish the way you want, but there's always the feeling of you have a bit of downtime and you get the body right and you're back into another off season or pre-season and you're on to chasing the whole thing again. But this is the last bit for me, so I'm sure I'll have a think about it afterwards. But yeah, there's a lot to be to get stuck into at the moment. So yeah, look, I was glad I had the decision to make last year, and I was glad I didn't. My big test was, can you be competitive internationally, and as a result you can be competitive in your club, and that was the right call, and I've enjoyed the season. There's been ups and downs, but that's part of the game, that's sport. I've loved it. I've picked up a couple of niggles here and there that I've kind of strayed away from most of my career, soft tissue stuff that the physios are kind of looking at me with two heads, that I'm not normally in the physio room being looked after like that. But that's probably that's part of the old age and the body creaking a little bit. But I'm fit now. I feel good, and I'm looking forward to the week, to be honest. Expecting a big physical derby. Ulster coming down here, it's always a spicy one. Derbies in general always seem to add a bit more. And look, we did a preview on them this morning. Obviously, I think they have the potential to be incredibly good. We looked at a fairly extensive highlight reel of them playing some very impressive rugby. A very classy kicking game, very varied. The pack are certainly all incredibly athletic guys like McNabney now, and these guys very dynamic. Obviously guys like Stuart McCluskey and these older guys who are, again, incredibly important for them. If you let them obviously get some go forward ball, with his ability to offload, the back three are obviously all incredibly dangerous as well. So they have threats everywhere, and that seems to be the way rugby's going. Is you're coming up against bigger and better teams every week. So you've got to. The main thing is that you've got to focus on yourself to get your performance. As I said, we need to worry about our individual performances, and we'll have hopefully we'll have what it takes to get the win at the weekend.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a challenging few weeks, I suppose. But look, that's what sport brings at times. Brings these challenges, and I suppose you're looking for people to stand up. We spoke about it this morning. Players, staff, everything. So and everything is just completely geared towards Friday night. We've had a week off there where, I suppose, being honest, people left after the Cardiff game, and there was that disappointment, and we reviewed it this morning. We spoke about it, and where obviously areas we need to improve with. But look, the challenge is Friday night. Ulster still everything to play for, so it's game on. Yeah, huge, massively important. Absolutely, I keep talking about it. In a squad, I think people perform best when the competition is there. And fortunately enough, towards the back end of the season now, especially, we're starting to recover a few players. And get them back in, and you could see it and you could feel it even today out in training. There was a good clip to training, good competitive edge. Everyone wants to be playing in these guys. It's going to be a big occasion as well. We can't forget that it's the last game for a few certain players that have been around for a long time and have given huge service to this club. So the lads want to do, obviously, put their best foot forward for those players as well, but equally as well for the match, for the club, and how important it is.